You're thinking about becoming an adjuster, but there's this voice in your head. Am I too old for this? Maybe you're in your 50s or 60s. Maybe tech makes you hesitate. Maybe it feels like a young person's game. I get it, but you need to hear this. You're not too late. In this video, I'm joined by Max, who started adjusting in his late 60s and has been crushing it ever since. We're breaking down the 4 keys to turning your age into your greatest asset. If you've been holding back because of the number on your birth certificate, this is for you. So let's get into it. Starting now. This video is sponsored in part by the National Association of Catastrophe Adjusters. Become a member and join the thousands of adjusters who've benefited from this critical organization at nacaadjuster.org.
Whenever I stop and look back, which I do every year, I look back at the year and I say, well, how did that go? And I always say that was the best year of my life. When I look back, I also see a pretty straight line going through everything. I always hated school. I hated it. I can't tell you how much I hated school. And I never talked about it, but I hated it. So those were long years of suffering. Oh my gosh. And eventually I got out of high school early. And 4 years later, I decided I'd go to college. And I thought I would go into journalism. And I remember walking down this huge high school that I was in for one semester, and I'd see this sign up above. And I have an identical twin, by the way. We have the same name. And he would be in that journalism room. And I'd look at that sign and I'd think, journalism, what is that? And so 4 years later, I found myself actually I always wanted to learn. I just hated school. I found myself wanting to get some formal instruction in the area of journalism. And so I started into really a communications career. And it was fantastic going to journalism school. This was in Indiana. I live in the Denver area now, Aurora, you know where that is. Yeah. But I grew up in Indiana and spent most of my life there. So I've been here in Colorado for 2 years.
What part of Indiana?
I grew up in Terre Haute, and then my wife and I, she's from the Fort Wayne area. And of course, you know where that is.
Yeah.
And then we settled down pretty much for about 26 years in the Indianapolis area, outside where the coyotes roam and howl.
All right, if you're making real money as an adjuster, don't leave your career exposed. Errors and omissions and general liability insurance from Kaplik is designed just for you, and it might even be cheaper than what you're already paying. Snap this QR code right here or visit cplic.net/adjustertv to grab the free guide and lock in smarter protection today.
Right. So what college did you go to J school at?
I got a couple degrees at ISU, Indiana State University in Terre Haute, and the other degree I got after that, I've been in graduate school several times. For people who don't know what that is, that means after you get your bachelor degree, which would be a 4-year degree, then you go on into other programs. So here I was, a guy who hated school, you know. And yet I found myself with a tremendous appetite still for learning, but I would negotiate how it happened. I'd negotiate it with the professors. I'd just say, I'm not doing that, but I'm willing to do this, you know. And why not? It's my time and my energy. And so I had a great time, but I was doing it wasn't really academia. I mean, believe me, I am steeped in all of that, but it was always for practical application. So it was a great journey. It went on for years. I was 9 years in higher ed, you know, 9 years. And yet, I never would have believed it. So I went into then what is called, I specialized, well, then I went on to Purdue. Okay, I'm going to roll this into one thing. Went on Purdue. Sure. I ended up specializing in the psychology of how learning happens and how memory works. There aren't too many of us in that. And it's very technical, but I was interested in the practical applications, skill acquisition, how we distribute attention, and how this affects performance. So it's very exciting, and it still is. I use everything all the time that I have accumulated along the way. So I have a very exciting life. And I decided not to finish the PhD because I didn't need it. Instead, I conducted literally hundreds of thousands of observations on how people learned, people of all different ages and ability levels. Wow, what an adventure that was. I did that for years, and studying how the memory works and how that relates to all kinds of things, including exotic claims that I also did.
Being a grade adjuster isn't just about policy and software. You got to know the difference between hail damage and worn-out shingles. Hague has the gold standard books and certifications to back you up in the field or at the desk. Scan the QR code or hit hagueeducation.com and use Adjuster TV for a discount and level up with Hague.
You know, fast forward to maybe the last decade or so, like where's that kind of brought you?
Well, my twin and I got into this. We were developing software. We're both very techie, and then I was doing super heavy video production along with it, and so we made a product for teaching Spanish and cultures to elementary schools. So we sold it to schools around the country. It wasn't big business, but it was also a tremendous experience. And then we put that on hold. Something that's a product I want to get back to. It's a big product of 500 video lessons. And then after that, this morphed into a lot of international work. So I began doing special communications, strategic communications for local leaders in a lot of countries overseas, mainly Africa. Places where I can't go because I've had a lot of influence there secretly and in a lot of other people's business, but I was paid to do it. And I mean, it's good work, raising a lot of money and convincing people who wanted to be in conflict to get out of the way. And so I would remove them through communications from here, just from right here, you know. They were getting in the way of beautiful projects, and the people there, I'm talking about indigenous peoples, many different types and colors. In Africa, it's not about color, it's about tribe. It's not really much of a racial issue there, not really. So we were constantly dealing with sophisticated tribal differences and goals, and so I spent my time trying to unite them. So I had a lot of success doing that. But I mean, I did what I was requested to do, but then I would tell the people how best to do it. I was getting calls all the time, you know, for this stuff. So I did that for 7 years. And because I'd become pretty savvy in international cultural things and linguistic things, I was able to enjoy an extra amount of success in guiding them because they have their cultural and linguistic things too. You know, they don't all speak some language called African. So
right.
So I had to constantly dealing with intrigue, secret police trying to get into things, and assassins, and sometimes people getting thrown into prison. We had to get them out. And so I was always providing the strategic communications for all kinds of things. So that was a great adventure. But then 2 years ago, May 4th, 2023, I decided, well, I skipped over the part about the claims that I was also doing, which were quite exotic. But these were claims that they can go from anywhere from, I mean, you don't close it on the person's doorstep in the driveway.
Sure.
You close it in 3 months to several years. Like I've got one now that's still outstanding. And it just got moved up to, it's going to be over a year before we pick it back up because it was in federal court. It was one that kind of a claim. And full of intrigue also. I deal with the government at the highest levels sometimes, and deal with, I have to go up against like an international crime ring, major fraudsters. So I've had a crazy run. But 2 years ago, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. So on May 4th, 2023, I stepped out into the Colorado air and I said, let's see if I can have a breakthrough. And I did. I took a walk and I said, okay, now what is it I do and what am I going to do next? And I thought, I do some long claims. I want to do some short ones.
Sure.
I remembered when I was 10 years old, my dad, who was an insurance salesman, introduced me to a guy. He said, hey, this guy is an adjuster. I thought, well, look at him. He looks happy. He looks like he's doing very well. And he's dressed pretty nice. And that stuck in my head. And so about 2 years ago, I decided I am going to get into the business of shorter claims.
Okay.
So I began training and I love it.
Right on. Well, let's talk about age and mindset. You said something really powerful in your email that adjusting is a mindset, and you saw that confirmed on a deployment with Pilot and Renfro. What have you noticed about age and experience and how those things kind of show up in this industry?
You are the one who said it was a mindset. So I wrote you an email because, I'd just been scouring the internet for everything that I could study. I mean, I was just gobbling everything up. And after I gobbled it up, I would gobble it up again and again. I'd go over the same material, I ran across your stuff and I looked up how to get a class with you, and the web page said that the class was filled up. So I thought, okay, I'll just keep on trucking. But I kept on watching your other videos, the ones that were available to the public. And one day I wrote you and I said, Matt, I'm going to be 69 in December. So this was last year I wrote you. And I said something like, what do you think about that? And you said, hey, age doesn't have anything to do with it. Adjusting is a mindset. I know lots of guys in their 70s who are adjusters, and I hope my own health holds out as well. So I thought, that's incredible encouragement. And when I went to train, I mean, there wasn't any deployment for the first year. There was hardly anything going on, in 2023. And I would go, like I went down to CATI for people who aren't familiar with that, Eberl's training down in Dallas. So I drove the 12-hour drive down there gladly. And I did a 5-day course. Then a couple months later, I did that again with another course. And I found out that people in the courses and people training were sometimes my age.
Yeah.
And then I trained, I took a whole bunch of auto courses from Pilot, paid. Those were paid. So I'm paying for all this stuff. Now, the reason I'm paying, I want to tell you something, Matt. I was always asking myself when I would watch your video, they'd say, okay, now why am I watching him? Where does this fit in? And so here, I'm going to pay you back now. Everybody's got their niches. You can't be them and they can't be you.
Yep.
And so I paid my way, but I also took advantage of everything that was available because people do want you to use their content. And so I kept asking, okay, where does Matt Allen's stuff fit in? And I noticed you were always working on your video techniques too. I could tell you were just like I mean, I'm not doing that much video production. I was up till a year ago, and I was always still going through there and improving. So I appreciated what you were doing. And I was okay now, but why am I taking his stuff? Why am I watching it? I mean, I spent a lot of time on your stuff, so I had to have a reason. Why in the world am I doing this? Who is he, this one guy? And I noticed that sometimes what you made are building blocks. If we think of it like a brick wall, this brick. And most of the time, it seemed like you were putting in the mortar that holds all these other pieces together. I could tell you could see there were things missing. So, for instance, I know this is a little bit off the topic, Matt, but when I went down to Caddy, they are like the grad school of 5-day programs. They are.
Totally.
They have amazing, amazing content. So if a person takes what you get in person and then you bring their syllabus home, which they need to redo. I mean, they try to cram it all on one page. But if you take your magnifying glass and you do their syllabus and review what they taught there, it is amazing content. And yet, the more you have, the more mortar you need to piece these things together. And that's what your stuff did every time. And so when I finally went out onto deployments, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe how many times you were in my head. Say, hey, Matt said, when you go up to this door, this person may be in real distress. Just take it on the chin if they come out at you. Just let them talk, and then go get your work done. I go to another place, say, now, the contractors are not usually going to be like this, but you may, and this is what makes you different, Matt. There are some, I mean, this is one of the many things that makes you different. There are some people who unfortunately bash contractors too much because they're really, it's really mostly a great experience working with contractors. And I remember you talking about them quite a bit. And you would only talk about the negative experiences once in a while because you said they are just once in a while. So I go up, and I'm a new adjuster, but I mean, I have lots of experience with building materials and property improvements of almost every type. So I'm super into that too. So I go up to this contractor and he starts telling me, we're going to do this and this and this. And I just say, let me show you what I do. See that? That's not what you think. Well, what is it? Well, that actually is just decay. If it was wind, we would see a crease across here and it might flap until it breaks off like those do. And so with you in my head so many times, that was a very important, that was like a whole lot of mortar connecting all kinds of encounters. And so over and over, I experienced that, and it answered my question, why in the heck am I listening to this guy? Takes up a lot of my time. It was worth every minute. You had said, you had asked about age, and the managers, they would be older than me or a little younger than me. They'd be usually at least in their 50s, some in their 40s. I just saw it everywhere. And I felt, wow, man, this profession has opened up its arms to me because I had just finished, before that, 2 years of applying for jobs where I had expertise, not in the claims area, like about 515 times rejected. And I start thinking, I'm pretty sure some of this has to do with age because I know these other things. But here in claims, people just open their arms up to me right away, open to my skill sets and everything.
Yeah. It's a meritocracy more than anything because I think that's kind of the lowest common denominator when firms and team managers and carriers and everybody are trying to get these claims closed, and it's just whoever can close the claim and do it with quality. So all that said, what advice do you have for somebody who's just starting out?
Hey, let me pull up some notes because I I have them. Okay, one of the things is to realize that everything is in your favor as far as getting you to be good at this. I was really surprised at the support. I mean, everywhere I look in this claims business, people are trying to support you. If you're brand spanking new, like I was a year ago, the support, I mean, it's just incredible what companies pay to provide the support. I heard somebody, I think maybe on one of your interviews the other day, say, I can't believe that they spend so much to train me. It may have been on yours, but that's what the woman said, an adjuster. And I felt the same way. And so going into it, I think it's very important for a person to know that this claims industry is built to make you succeed. One day I got a call from a guy that you had on about a week ago, Pablo Gonzalez, de La Habana, Cuba, Territorio Libre in America. And I had gotten my license, Florida license. That'd be my designated home state because we don't have an adjuster license in Colorado. And so he calls me up. I'm thinking, why is this guy calling me up? I didn't realize this is part of this claims industry support system. He spent so much time with me, and I started asking questions. And for a while, I really was mystified. Why is this guy calling me? Kind of weird. We were speaking in English, but we spoke almost entirely in English. And and he gave me so much guidance, and then sent me this email that was spectacular. It was a great resource, and said, these are something like 6 of the larger firms that we do recommend, but here are many others. And I just did what he said, and everything Pablo told me came true.
Yeah, totally. So that's your advice for newbies then?
That's one piece. But, what I found is that whenever I interacted with a whole lot of managers and trainers because of the way some companies build their support system when you're running claims. And everybody would always tell me, Max, it's just, you just got to keep doing it. I used to be exactly where you are, and you just keep doing it. And eventually I realized they're all pulling for me. They want me to succeed. And so finally I realized I'm going to be a great adjuster. Now, I'm not a great adjuster yet. There are some things I am great about because I already had those skills, But I know I'm going to be a great adjuster because the training is all around, and the support during the claims, while you're doing the claims, is all there. I mean, everybody, it's just amazing. It's an avalanche of support, but you have to be willing to do your part, So another thing is technology. If you stayed up with civilization, the older you get, the much better you are at technology than the younger people. So, I am many, many times better than I would have been at, say, age 20 and 30. So you want to think about what skills do you have. I want to give you an example, come to think of it. I was driving down, my wife was driving down the road one day. We were going to some beautiful national park, and I get this call from another country. Max, got a local leader here who's trying to push me out. We've got a regional director who's trying to take over some of my responsibilities, just wrecking everything. And so I just get out my phone. Now, if I was going, 100 miles an hour, typing in, somebody might say, wow, he's really good at technology. No, what's good at it is knowing how to use it as a tool. So then I took principles of composition and composed a piece of strategic communication that knocked that thing out of the park. And then I used this technology strictly as a tool for that. So it's important for people to take stock of their skills and to continue to see technology as nothing but a tool. and to not downplay your skills, because the thing I hear all the time, and I hear it from claims managers, they say those younger people, they're digital natives, and they're just way ahead. No, they're not. They can't do anything with it until they learn skills, just like the rest of us. And skills is a process, so you can't underestimate yourself. So there I was, I kept meeting these people who were my age and older. I just went down to a Renfro, a tremendous session by Jim Chaney to learn more about large loss and commercial. And then he wanted me.
I know Jim.
You do?
Yep.
He's something like 66. And I just
if it's the same Jim Chaney, he used to work at Hague.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Like so many of the people I've met who are older, he loves his work. So I just keep running into this, and it adds energy to me. And you look at Jim, I mean, he's got a long list of academic, what do you call it? The letter's nice. He's all these letters on it that just
credentials.
Indicate, he's got certifications there. He just keeps up it. But he's one of many people I've met, and he didn't count himself out. He just kept on going, and he's remarkable. So that's one of the other things, understanding that technology is a tool, no matter how old you are or how young. It's all about skills that you use with your technology.
Absolutely. You said something interesting about loving the frenzy. What did you mean by that, and how does that motivate your work as an adjuster?
You often teach about efficiency, and when you're new, you're not efficient. It's just everything's working against you, as far as efficiency goes. Like I did anyway, so my first appointment was with Allstate. The second one was with Renfro and State Farm. And both of them have these massive data systems for, what do we call them? For managing information, input, and then I forget what the word we usually, it's an acronym.
Claims management system.
Yeah, there you go.
DMS.
There you go. And we call them content management systems in general. And anyway, these things are massive, as you know, and they take they require you to be very confident and believe the trainers when they tell you, hey, don't worry about it. You're going to get it. You just got to keep on doing it. These are people who are giving a part of themselves to you. And at the same time, you got to close that claim. Well, something happened. I went to Alpharetta, Georgia for Hurricane Helene, and I thought, I guess I'll be headquartered here. But no, then they sent me 4 hours south. I thought, whoa, I remember Matt talking about that. Be ready to go somewhere else. And then I remembered you talking about the war room and how that can be the last place that you want to spend your time if you want efficiency. And I'm going to tell you something. All the talk I heard you do, all the teaching I heard you do on war room was correct. So there I was in the war room, and I'm thinking, all right. It was 90 minutes minimum from where I was working. So I didn't want to go, but they said we had to go. And so we go in there, and there are people in there. One guy's listening to a football game on his phone. Others are waiting in line for some help.
Yeah.
And I'm into the frenzy of, everything's happening, and okay, there's more that needs to be done. Great. Yeah, I just need some support here. But in the war room, as you always have said, it can come in little teeny bits and pieces. So I found a way around it, and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was Renfro was providing some really good virtual help by trainers who were in who knows what state. And so if I figured out if I got there in the right times, I was using your advice. If I got there at the right time of day, I could have them to myself. One day they said I closed 7 claims, but once. Other than that, I was lucky to close. Well, sometimes I could get up to 2, sometimes.
Sure.
But what I liked about the frenzy is racing against time, working as a team. And I noticed everybody was, well, a lot of us, managers, trainers, et cetera, working as a team. And so it made the frenzy even more fun because it was just another great reason to be working as a team. And something happened, though, my second day. So I have to go back just a little bit. On my second day, my manager gave me 26 more claims.
Wow.
And I was crushed. Not
on top of what?
On top of 30.
Okay.
30, 35.
Yeah.
And it crushed me as far as my schedule. I mean, there was no way I could there was no way I could do it. And I said, all right, I'll do it. Because somebody had quit.
Yep.
And I remembered, oh yeah, Matt talks about people getting washed out right away. And here I am now experiencing.
Second day.
Matt, it's exactly all the stuff you teach. People need to be getting it. It's oh my gosh, every bit of it kept happening to me. And so I said to the manager, okay, if you got my back, I'll do this. Of course, as you have said, as State Farm has said, as Eberl has said, you can't do that. You have to take one claim and maybe one claim a day for a whole week. And in fact, you would need, I would need to do that. We all of us knew people needed to do that. And so, right away, really, it turned everything upside down. I was forever catching up. Well, I had told my manager, all right, I'll do it if you got my back. And he said, I'll have it. But he was overwhelmed by people who were so much needier than I am, I mean, totally. I had my level 2 Xactimate certification. Hadn't really used it that much yet, but found out I was pretty doggone good at it, when I just started using it. And other people, I would hear trainers talking to them, well, it would be good if you get at least your level 1. I think, oh, wow. So I would I'd be in line behind those people forever, So my manager wasn't able, he's great guy, but he wasn't able to, give me much time. He gave me what he could. So there I was, I had like 56 claims, and I just had to just do what I could. And so that's what I did. I did what I could, which was not impressive, but they kept me to the end on both my deployments and told me, you have done very well. And I thought, well, okay, okay.
So you're fluent in Spanish. How do you think that that's helped your adjusting work so far? Have you had a chance to use that in the field?
When you look like me and you, people can't believe that you speak another language. So people will stand there and stare at me. And they will say to me in Spanish, when I'm talking to them in Spanish, this happens all the time. It just happened a couple times the other day here in Colorado. They look at you and they go in Spanish, you see. So you speak Spanish? It's a very odd reaction, since after all, you're speaking to them in Spanish, it's fluent Spanish.
Right.
You're speaking their language fluently. And they're going, you speak Spanish? They can't believe an American, just a regular American, can. So I'm just throwing that in there for a little insight into how surprising it is that people find any American speaking anything but English.
Right.
So I do find that, you want me to tell you how I got that certification?
That certification, what do you mean? Language?
This is interesting. Yeah. Eberl told me, hey, our carriers like us to have certified Spanish speakers. I said, what do I have to do? And they said, well, you have to take a test. I said, I got to prove to you that I'm fluent in Spanish by taking a test, and I didn't want to do it because, I mean, I was, listen, Matt, I was just burying myself in constant training because you and other people kept saying, when there's no deployment, when there's nothing going on with the weather, there's not enough to keep everybody busy, keep training. So that's what I did. I just followed the advice, which was excellent. So I said, well, let me think about it. So I decided I would do it. And by the way, I'm sitting in my basement where I usually exercise. I carry my ladder around, one of my ladders and everything. But right now I can't lift anything for another like 4 weeks.
Sure.
So they said, okay, here, we're going to send you a link and you you take this test. So you call in and it's all recorded. That is pre-recorded. And it says, we're going to give you a 17-item test. And then afterwards, we'll let you know how you did. Well, the fact is, you can't do this unless you're already fluent. I guarantee you.
Right.
Everybody wants to tell me, oh, I had high school Spanish. Yeah, I know. Everybody does. I know. Yeah. But you got to be fluent.
I did too. I don't know how many semesters of Spanish I had, and I can barely order a beer in Spanish.
So I hit the okay, let's go, Okay, Matt, listen, here 17 items. Here's the first item. You ready? Tell about the neighborhood where you live. Talk about some of your more interesting neighbors. What do you like about them? What stands out? Have you made any good friendships with people in your neighborhood? How about the pets? Talk about the pets. Any interesting pets or wildlife around there? Do you have interesting things to do in your neighborhood? Do you like to go out and take a walk? That's one item.
Sure. Okay. That's one question out of the 17.
So you get 17 of those. They may say, like one of them, what's your opinion on pollution caused by such and such? I can't remember what that one was. And they went on and on with that thing. That was one item. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But what you do is
now were they asking this in Spanish?
Must be. I'm sure it was.
So it wasn't like they were asking those questions in English. The part of the test was it was all in Spanish, or
it had to
was
be
all in English.
It would be really weird speaking English during that time. So when you get done with, and they tell you, keep on talking, sigue hablando hasta until there's some kind of a, what do we call it in English, a little bell ring, or something says, okay, that's it. So you just keep talking. You just talk. 45 minutes later, it's done, and you have answered these supposedly 17 questions, which are like 170 questions, close to it,
Yeah.
And you're done. And all you do is you've talked. So you're fluent. You were already fluent. You're done. So I got the certification. So then I get a call from Renfro. And remember, now this is in the first few months of my switch over to this kind of claims, as opposed to my years-long claims, and which were very litigation heavy. So here I am, I get this call from Renfro, and they say, hey, we would like you to get certified in Spanish. I said, I already got certified in Spanish. I got it from Renfro. I got it from Eberl. I'll send you the certificate. They said, no, can't use that one. Theirs is proprietary.
Oh, okay. Right.
So
yeah,
the same company would be doing the testing, but Renfro said, this time we're going to get you a certificate and you can present it to anybody. And so I did it again, and it was a similar test. It was by the same company and same testing company. Well, then I get a call from Alacrity. He said, we would like you to get certified in Spanish. Our carriers, etc. I said, I have got a certificate for you. I emailed that to them and they accepted it.
Nice.
And so to answer your one question about do I use it, I do use it. A lot of immigrants want you to know that they can speak a certain amount of English.
Sure.
And so it's good to let them do some of that, but they also feel warm when you can honor them by speaking their language.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that for me, that was one of my sort of like, I wouldn't say failings, but, something that I didn't quite have in my tool set, because you go to surprising places in the country, middle of, Nebraska, and in a small town, and everybody works at a meatpacking plant.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of Latinos.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just only in the big cities or only in border towns in Texas or whatever. It could be anywhere. And there's places in Oregon where there's, wineries, and all the street names in the little town are in Spanish. So you're obviously not done growing, Max. What are you working on next in your adjuster career, and what would you say your focus is for the next 6 to 12 months, let's say?
I recognize, from being out there in the field, I recognize that I have a lot of growth to do. But with all of the support there is, I just have this constant assumption, I'm going to be a great adjuster. I know this, Matt. I know I will be. Everything's there. It's just, you just have to stick with everybody as they're trying to shape you into a great adjuster, which is what you have to admit, all of your lessons are about that, how to be a great adjuster, every single one of them. And so is everybody else's training. And so is everybody else's participation in your daily work on a deployment. So what I want to do is, I love being on roofs. Oh my gosh. I started being on roofs when I was 6. I love roofs. But like your buddy, James, you do have, we all have to watch our joints. I'm in pretty good shape, but I have to think about that, at 70. And see, that means next year I'd be 71. So how should I be distributing my joints across this part of the career? Because I'd like to do this for another 15 years. I'm really into this. I'm really, really into all of this. So I have to think, well, if I'm going to do that, then I know I'm not going to fall off a roof, but you can fall on a nail, and you can, a lot of things can happen to you. You could be in a crash, etc. So I think what I'm doing right now, like with I have been pursuing learning large loss, how to deal with large loss, and then I'm very interested in the commercial. So much of this stuff is already familiar to me. I grew up around construction all over the place, all phases from the ground, digging the ground up. I just grew up around it. And so it wasn't until I started doing my adjuster training and I realized, wait a second, I saw this stuff every day. I used to swim in the rain-filled trenches when they were building the houses, Sometimes we snuck in and ran the earth-moving equipment, and we weren't supposed to. But I'm just saying, we didn't hurt anything usually. I know we didn't. But I realized I've been around this stuff all my life. And so what I want to do is I'm excited about large loss and commercial. And so I've been taking training on that, and been started training in level 3 Xactimate.
Nice. So, final question. For people out there who feel like it's too late for them or they're too old to start over, what would you tell them?
I've worked virtually for years, and also I'm a very physical person. If you have good physical health and you want to be outside, there's lots of opportunities for adjusters my age. If you like being, if you like working inside, I have more calls, more contacts, people contacting me than I can possibly accept. As far as opportunities go, lately, though, because I had a surgery, I had like 2 months of all kinds of appointments, so that I had to do in preparation. So that knocked out all my spring opportunities. But even when I tell people no, they still call me back. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and if you're whether it's and they'll also tell me, hey, you want to work inside, Well, I want to say that you can't think of your age as, it's good to think of your age as an asset. I look over mine. I've just told you some of my story. I haven't even told you all the crazy exotic claims I've worked on. You wouldn't believe them. You wouldn't. And yet I'm the one that pulled younger people out of their tar pits in extremely complex international federal issues. But it's good to look at your age as proof that you have collected skills and a business mindset. So this is going to be the icing on the cake. Sometimes I'll hear people say, oh, those IA firms, they're just rolling in the dough. Well, I hope they are. That means they're doing good business. But they'll have their dry seasons. Yeah. They'll have their dry seasons too, and they're just like me and you. They don't want to lay people off. They'll treat the workers right. And if you have lived longer, then you probably have a lot better context in your head for who you're working for. And I worked super hard from 2009 to 2013 for extremely rigorous years in studying entrepreneurship and street marketing. And you know what? Somebody said something in there I want to tell you. They said, sometimes being an entrepreneur isn't about growing your own business. It's about helping other people grow theirs. And so when I heard that, I realized, yeah, I'm interested in just being a good employee and doing what I'm asked to do, representing the company to the customer and to I think you said recently that everybody's your customer, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And so to the contractors, and boy, you are so right. I mean, word gets around. And so when you have a good business mindset, you can be really useful to the company and they're going to want to use you. And why wouldn't you do that? And why wouldn't you look at your age as a real asset, a collection of wisdom, skills that you can bring to make this job come alive. And when the frenzy hits and all kinds of people, everybody around me was, they were going crazy. And I just thought, at least, the newer ones, and they would drop off like flies, just like you said. And I'd be just sitting there thinking, this is so fun. I love it.
Nice. Well, that's all the questions I got for you. I am actually curious, though, before I let you go, these exotic claims you're talking about, can you give us an example? Are you allowed to? Is it classified?
No. A lot of my work, like in strategic communications, that stuff I don't tell anybody who or where, but I can tell about what. And that's associated with these exotic claims. For instance, a guy gets on the web, an American male, gets on the web on a dating site, and before long, he's caught in an international trafficking scheme. Now, I always win, so it's a happy ending. So I'll give you a quick lowdown. So he ends up going over to China. He meets this woman who acts like she just loves him. Well, he visits her for about 5 days, visiting her and her family. And he goes to the airport, and she throws her arms around him, and in her broken English, she says, I love you, please don't leave me. But it's all part of a scheme. So he thought, wow, I've lost 2 wives. This woman loves me. So he comes home, and they continue their relationship, and finally, he marries her. And just a few days later, I became involved because this international crime ring that had been marketing this woman, I mean, she was a willing participant. She wanted to get over here to the U.S. and get a bunch of periodontic work done. And she was about mid-50s, and he was mid-60s. And you wouldn't believe the financial nightmare this turned into. He was thrown in jail because she started screaming one night. She went outside and started screaming. Anyway, our law enforcement and justice system, they're not familiar with this stuff. I mean, I looked at it, I could see it a mile away, and they fell for everything. And they threw this guy, this American, they threw him in jail. And for months, he had to wear an ankle monitor. He wasn't allowed to leave the county. And I said, okay, look, Mark, I tell you where your wife's going to go. She's going to head to a colony of people who look like her. And she did. And there was an immigration attorney in the Las Vegas area who was working with this criminal network. And we traced some other connections down, but we beat him. We smashed him. Only after 3 lawyers told him to plead guilty. And I'm going, what? Just let me handle this part. I'll get rid of this thing in 5 minutes. And I could have. 5 minutes is all I needed. It would have been gone. But he said something fateful. He says, no, I better do what my lawyers say. He spent, like a year and 10 months of great suffering as a result. But we had a second round after he pleaded guilty. And his finances were in jeopardy like you would not believe. This crime ring knows all the weak spots, and they know how ignorant law enforcement and justice systems are about certain things. I come from a law enforcement family, so I'm not cracking down on everybody.
Sure.
So through a very complex, lengthy interrogations and everything, this particular kind of claim became litigant heavy. I write these things up like stories when I prepare them for lawyers and court officials. So when you see my work, you see stories, She fooled him. He didn't see it coming. She grabbed him by the collar and tried to make his head hit her.
Wow.
And so, the judges love reading these things. When I had the final document delivered to the client, he gave it to his attorney, and his attorney took my name off of it and put his on, and the case was over in less than 10 minutes.
Wow. That's crazy.
A great amount of suffering in the meantime for the client.
Yeah, that's terrible. Wow. Well, Mr. Max, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you this morning, and I'm excited to kind of to edit this interview and put together something to put out on Adjuster TV that's I know is going to help. I get the question all the time from people, is age a factor? Can I still do this if I'm 45? I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Can I still do this if I'm 75? And I'm like, I wish I was 45 again, but your insight's been incredibly valuable, and this has been a really delightful conversation.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, thanks for this, and thanks for your work.
You bet.
I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I have a lot of fun doing this. So if you've been holding back because of your age, just stop.
Like Max showed, what you've done before this moment is what makes you valuable in this industry. Your experience, your discipline, your perspective, this is what firms, carriers, and the customer needs. If you want to know the full breakdown of how I made a minimum of $2,000 a day as a catastrophe property adjuster, click on this video and I'll see you over there. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a great storm.